This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
I have 3 words of advice for the two candidates as they prepare for next Thursday's presidential debate, which is going to be watched by 100 million Americans. It's going to be big. It's going to be a game changer. I'm not totally confident that Donald Trump won't screw this up, won't help Joe Biden when Biden is drowning. But if I had to give Biden, I'll give them each 3 words of advice. For Joe Biden, move your arms. Why is that so hard to do? Move your arms. I understand that he has arthritis, he has dementia, but when you're walking, Joe, you look really stiff, really old. You look like a man with serious cognitive issues. They released a video of Biden yesterday coming off Air Force One and using the big boy stairs and walking with nothing. Shouldn't he at least have a briefcase? Shouldn't someone be by his side? Where are the visiting angels? Here he is walking from Air Force One to Marine One, and it is nerve-wracking. You're wondering, is he going to make it? He's walking so slow, so stiff. Is he going to make it? Here he goes. Couple more steps, Joe. He's got his Hoka shoes on, the stabilizing Hoka sneakers, and he walks by the 2 Marines. He doesn't salute because he's concentrating on walking, so he can't do 2 things at once. But it answers one question: why they want him to sit down, why they're making a demand that he gets to sit in a chair, which I don't think they've agreed to. They did have one interesting development yesterday. They had a coin flip, and the winner of the coin flip got to choose whether he got to either pick the podium he wanted or go last. Weird. It's a weird deal. But so Joe Biden wins the coin flip, and I'm thinking, of course I'll go last, because who cares which podium you stand at? He picked his podium. He's going to be on, I forget, right side, left side, whatever. He gets to pick his podium, but Donald Trump gets to go last, which brings me to my 3 words of advice for Donald Trump. Say her name. Say her name. Her name is Jocelyn Nungary or Nungary. Get the pronouncement, the proper pronunciation. Do that. That's not hard to do. And say her name, and say it at inopportune times. What about Jocelyn Nungary? What about Jocelyn? Just throw it out there. I know Jake Tapper won't ask about her. I know Dana Bash won't even know who that is. As we will show, the mainstream media doesn't want you to know about Jocelyn Nungary. But this is the most outrageous, infuriating, maddening, sickening, nauseating story we've had in this entire campaign season. It is a trend. It is just outrageous that this is happening in this country, and it's all the fault of Joe Biden. Say that, Donald Trump. Say this little girl, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary, would be alive today if not for Joe Biden. If Joe Biden didn't open the border and welcome in these 2 subhuman savages, this girl would be alive today. This mother would not be grieving the loss of her baby girl. What's wrong with that? Why not hammer away at that? Jake Tapper will ask you about climate change. He'll ask about January 6th. He'll ask about threats to democracy. And you just say, thanks for the question, Jake. I want to talk about Jocelyn Nungary. If you haven't followed the story, and I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't, because the mainstream media is ignoring it completely. You want to see the best evidence yet that our media is corrupt and in the tank and the enemy of the people? This story is so disturbing, and they don't want you to hear it. They don't want you to know that Jocelyn Nungary is a 12-year-old girl from Houston who met these 2 individuals at a convenience store, took a walk over a bridge, and ended up dead in the river below the bridge. That these animals who came from Venezuela in the last 3 months walked across the border, weren't vetted. Obviously, these are criminals. These are gang members. These are monsters. And they just come on in, welcomed here by Joe Biden and the Democrats, and they murder a 12-year-old girl. Now, this is disturbing on so many levels, but here's what I keep coming back to. It's the same as Laken Riley, the same as Rachel Morin. It's one thing. It's not. I'm not excusing, petty thieves or moped robbers or the shoplifters. Those are bad people too. They should be deported too. But we're letting into the country people who just have no humanity. We're letting in animals who murder 12-year-old girls, who murder for the enjoyment of it. Laken Riley was out for a jog when she was savagely murdered. Her skull was crushed by an illegal alien. Rachel Morin was on a walk or a jog on a trail, the Ma and Pa hiking trail in Maryland, when a savage just decided her life meant nothing. He wanted to have some fun. So he raped her, didn't just rape her, he raped her and he killed her, a mother of 5, also known as the individual who was murdered, according to Alejandro Mayorkas. Nothing from Joe Biden, nothing from the Biden campaign. These people mean nothing to them. They're just collateral damage. The goal is to get as many illegals in the country as possible, hopefully get them to vote in November, if not this November, 4 years from now. Their goal is to change this country, fundamentally transform it. And the price we pay is with the lives of innocent girls and women. How can you not just repeat that over and over? Donald Trump's good at repeating things. He likes to repeat things. Repeat this, Donald. Didn't Jocelyn Nungary's life matter to you, Joe? Doesn't she matter? How about you just say to Joe, do you know who she is? Do you care? Does it matter to you? These people, and I'm talking about Joe Biden, I'm talking about Democrats in D.C., I'm talking about the media, have no souls. They have no heart. They have no humanity. The idea that if you're in the media, you're at ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and you see this story and you ignore it because you think it might hurt your guy, that's evil. That's just disgusting. But that is what they did. According to Newsbusters, this story got 0 minutes on CBS, ABC, and NBC. They didn't cover it. They would have covered it if the 2 individuals who committed the murder, allegedly, were citizens. They'd have covered it, but they're not. They're illegals invited here by Joe Biden from Venezuela, probably criminals, probably murderers back in Venezuela, probably let them out of prison, as Trump likes to say, because what kind of person would do this? A really, really bad person, an evil person. That's who's coming into the country. These aren't engineering students. These aren't people looking for a better life. These are people looking to take a life, to hurt people, to kill Americans. I don't know why. I mean, I understand that there people hate Trump and there are people who, like whatever Joe Biden's policies. But how does this not bother everybody? How does this not affect the election? How can you still support the man who invited Johan Jose Rangel Martinez, 21, and Franklin Jose Pena Ramos, 26, into the country? The guy who brought them here so they could take this little girl, this cute little 12-year-old, strangle her, murder her, and dump her in a river. Those guys don't belong here. Those guys wouldn't be here if Donald Trump had beaten Biden in 2020. She'd be alive today. Rachel Morin would be alive today. Laken Riley would be alive today. That's just a fact. And they don't care. They don't care. If it hurts their guy, they don't want you to know about it. That's the kind of people in newsrooms, on networks we have today. We should play the report. I want to play the report from Houston because it's amazing. These guys just got here. One of them had an ankle bracelet so they could monitor him. It only worked for 3 weeks. They said, we're going to monitor him for 3 weeks, and then he can go about killing kids in Houston. The other guy's been here for like 3 months. They both came into the country this year. They couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to kill an American, and they did. And they'll go to prison for life, I guess, but it's going to happen again. It's happened, regularly. People are dying because Joe Biden opened the border. How does that not change how does that not change the mind of anybody who's on the fence? I don't care if you think Donald Trump's obnoxious. I don't even care if you think he's a convicted criminal. We have to stop this. We have to stop allowing these monsters to kill Americans. Do we have the report from Houston? I want to do it because I want you to keep in mind that Joy Reid laughed about this. ABC, NBC did a report on a boat in Maine yesterday, a long report about the economy with a Maine fisherman. CBS, they probably did, let me guess, global warming, climate change, because it's hot in the summer. Those are stories they covered. This is a story they ignored. Play this.
Tonight, the family of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary is planning to hold a vigil in her honor tomorrow night at sunset.
That is after investigators announced today 2 men are in custody charged with capital murder for killing the little girl and leaving her body in a North Houston bayou.
Anieli Ruiz is live at HPD headquarters in downtown Houston with the very latest in this case. Anieli?
Well, guys, a sigh of relief for this family and the entire community as everyone was shocked to hear about this terrible tragedy. A busy day for officers as they zeroed in on 21-year-old Johan Jose Rangel Martinez and 26-year-old Franklin Jose Peña Ramos. Both men now charged with capital murder in the death of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaray.
Como las 4 a 5 de la mañana.
Claudia Escobar, who lives near them, says she heard the loudspeaker at around 4 this morning. She said the loudspeaker in Spanish asked those in the apartment to exit because they had an arrest warrant. This neighbor said officers started arming themselves and they went up to the second floor. One neighbor said one of the men from the apartment jumped out from the balcony, but cops had the place surrounded and they grabbed him. Witnesses shared images of the suspects being questioned outside as investigators pulled out bags of evidence from the apartment. Today, police said the suspects ate at a restaurant on Northborough late Sunday. They left on foot, met Jocelyn near Kirkendale, and walked to the convenience store. They then all walked to the bridge where she was killed.
They just moved in. They haven't even been here a month.
Neighbors say they didn't really know the 2 men because they hadn't lived here for long. But one thing they all noticed, the men would sit on the balcony and they said they would make unwanted advances to women as they were passing by. Neighbors still here can't believe that someone would hurt such a beautiful young girl.
Oh my God! Look at the girl. She's got braces. She's a kid. She's in 7th grade. She's supposed to be hanging out with her friends. She's supposed to be dancing to Taylor Swift. They find her lifeless body dead in a river because these monsters walked over our border and just took it and probably got free phones, free food, free shelter, free everything. And how do they repay this country? They repay it by murdering a child. This can't go on. We can't have 4 more years of this. We can't survive as a nation if this is the policy of the president. I mean, how do you vote for Joe Biden? Anyone out there? Can we get someone on the chat line? Tell me, how do you support that? I want you to answer that without mentioning Donald Trump. How about you do that? Answer me how you could support the person who allowed these monsters into our country, how you could support them without mentioning Donald Trump. Here's another woman that Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas and Joy Reid don't care about. Here's Jocelyn's mother finding out her baby girl is dead because of these savages who Joe Biden welcomed to America. Go ahead.
Jocelyn was a fighter. She fought hard. And, she needs justice. Yeah. She didn't deserve this. And she needs to be rested at peace.
And those
those two men are out there right now, what would you want them to know?
He took away my firstborn. I was a teen mom. She's who helped me grow, mature. She was turned into such a beautiful, beautiful young lady.
Oh God! I mean I don't get it. I don't get it. How this cannot affect you. I understand how you could not have seen it because they don't want you to see her. They don't want you to hear about this girl, just like they don't want you to hear about Rachel Marin. They don't want you to hear about Laken Riley or Molly Tibbetts or Kate Steinle. They don't want you to know these women exist. This was an amazing moment on cable news. Truly. This is Joy Reid with Pramelia Jayapal, a squad member, an America-hating radical. They're talking about, immigration. Joy Reid, I want you to think, covering the story of Rachel Marin's murder in Maryland by an illegal alien who murdered another woman in El Salvador before he came over to this country. He murdered Rachel Marin on a trail. Then he went to LA and terrorized a 9-year-old girl and her mother. And they caught him in Tulsa, Oklahoma, sitting on a bar stool through great police work by cops in Maryland, through DNA evidence. So they catch this guy. And the problem Joy Reid and Jayapal have is that Fox News covered it. Yes, they covered that story instead of talking about Joe Biden's plan to grant amnesty to 500,000 more illegal aliens. That's the big story. We're gonna give citizenship to more illegal aliens. That's the big story to these women who don't care about women. Watch this incredible moment. I truly stopped me in my tracks. I couldn't believe what they did. Listen to the reaction from Jayapal when they mention Rachel Marin, the murder of a mother of 5. Go ahead.
Great citizens.
But there's a lot of fear mongering.
There's a lot of fear mongering. Absolutely.
And I think it's kind of remarkable that the polls I look at, the national polls, actually Americans still support immigrants. They support immigration. It's just that they would like to see a system that actually works and that can keep them safe and secure. And all of us want that. And, I've been working on this issue for 20 years since before I came to Congress in the streets as an activist.
Let me show you this is one of the reasons that people have these sort of thinking. Here's the 3 cable networks reporting of this. Was our banner said, soon Biden announces legal protections for undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens. CNN's banner said, Biden announces new protections for some undocumented spouses. Here was Fox's banner, migrant arrested for raping 13-year-old New York City.
Yes.
And so I think that's part of the problem, right?
Exactly.
Is that you have a lot of fear-mongering.
Exactly. And we know that when people have economic insecurity.
Jesus. Economic insecurity. I was wrong. It wasn't about the Rachel Marin murder. It was about the rape of a 13-year-old child. The monster tied up the girl and her boyfriend and stuffed a banana in her mouth and raped her in a Queens Park. They chuckle at that and call it fear-mongering and admonish Fox News for covering the story. That's the best example yet of the absolute corruption, the vile nature of the mainstream media. They don't care about this girl. I ask this all the time, but these are people who pretend to care about women and girls. You hear it all the time. I mean, these are people who were outraged when, Harvey Weinstein was forcing himself on actresses in LA, or if some congressman or some celebrity gets accused of sexual whatever misconduct, they go nuts. Oh, they're champions of women. They have nothing to say about this rash of murders of innocent American women and girls. Nothing. Have you heard anything from Liz Warren, from Ayanna Pressley, from Claire McCaskill, from Rachel Maddow? Their ideology, their hate for Trump, their radical left-wing views are all that matters. Women don't matter. Girls don't matter. Innocent children murdered mean nothing to them, because if it might hurt their guy, if it might hurt Joe Biden's chances of re-election, they will not just ignore the story, they will mock it. They mocked the story of a 13-year-old girl being raped by an illegal alien savage in New York. She just chuckled at it and called it fear-mongering. Can you define that for me? Fear-mongering? To cover a story of a 13-year-old kid being raped, a 37-year-old mother of 5 being murdered, a 12-year-old girl being murdered. This is all in a matter of a couple of weeks. And they want you to think, oh, the right-wing media is just fear-mongering. These are soulless, rotten, evil people. And that person you're looking at right now is in Congress. She is a U.S. Congresswoman, and she doesn't give a shit about Jocelyn Nungary or Rachel Marin or Laken Riley. They mean nothing. Getting as many illegals in here to vote for her, that's what matters. To get in here and vote for Joe Biden, that's all they care about. It is amazing. I'll repeat. The story of a 12-year-old child murdered by savages from Venezuela got 0 minutes of coverage on the 3 major networks. 0. They intentionally, deliberately ignore the story because they're afraid it might hurt their guy. We are talking about real evil here, real sinister people who are trying to affect this election, trying to help their guy. Put that back up. Fear-mongering. So this is what they say we're doing right now. We're fear-mongering. It says fear-mongering, the action of deliberately arousing public fear or alarm about a particular issue. So you cover the murder of American women and girls, and you're just deliberately arousing public fear or alarm about a particular issue. I know everybody doesn't watch Joy Reid or even ABC, NBC, CBS, but you should know what kind of people are delivering the news. Just real bastards, just real awful people telling you you're fear-mongering. You're just deliberately arousing public fear when you talk about Americans murdered by illegal alien monsters who shouldn't be here. Trump has to go here. It's why he won in 2016 against all odds. He said he was going to build a wall. He said they're not sending their best. They're sending criminals. They're sending drug dealers. He was right. That's who's coming into the country intentionally. That's why Venezuela is sending these people, because they're the worst of the worst, and they're among us now. And if Joe Biden gets elected, there's going to be hundreds more Jocelyn Nungaries. And yet
Fear-mongering.
Mongering. I thought it was fear-mongering. Did I pronounce it wrong? Fear-mongering?
I don't think that's right. It has to be mongering.
Well, I'm going to keep fear-mongering for the rest, as long as I'm here. I'm going to keep fear-mongering. And you know what? If this somehow, I don't know, it doesn't happen, but if this girl were murdered by 2 white guys, if a little, Hispanic girl were murdered by 2 white guys, it would lead the news. It would be a full hour of Joy Reid. That's how they make their decisions. Oh, they're illegal aliens, criminals from Venezuela. Let's just keep it under our hats. Let's just not go there. It doesn't look good for Joe Biden. These people are vile. Trump has said many things, accurate things, none more accurate than these are the enemies of the people. These are enemies of this country. They're not at the gates. The barbarians are in Congress. They're in newsrooms. They're in TV studios. That's the people that are the real danger. They're complicit in this scourge of illegal alien violence. They want them here, and then when they get here and do what they do, which is commit crimes, commit murders, they want you to look the other way. They give it a good leave it alone and want you to just really not notice. Oh, by the way, don't even really have time for this. 5 illegal aliens yesterday charged with kidnapping. They took a 14-year-old girl from Indiana, kidnapped her, and took her to Missouri. 5 illegal alien criminals from somewhere else took a teenage girl in Indiana and took her to Missouri. They got caught, they got arrested, but you won't hear about it on your evening news. Gee, I got to mention this too. The Associated Press story about the murder of Jocelyn Nungary, the old story, Associated Press, never mentions the immigration status of the killers. The word Venezuela doesn't appear in the story. They just said 2 men were arrested for the murder of a 12-year-old. 2 men, just 2 random men, not 2 illegals, not 2 Venezuelans, not 2 scumbag savages who shouldn't be here. The Associated Press is just lost. I mean, they're just as partisan and ideological as everyone else. Don't trust the AP. Don't trust any of these networks. They're just rotten to the core. Speaking of rotten to the core, we got to get to this story out of New York, and we're going to criticize the evil orange man because Donald Trump has a flaw. You're not going to like this, Ironhead. He's got his Trump 47-45 shirt on today, but Trump's one of his flaws is that he just says things to certain whoever he's speaking to. It affects what he says, who's speaking to. And he was trying to just placate some podcasters yesterday. And he said yesterday, we're talking about in the middle of this scourge of illegal alien violence, a week ahead of the debate, said we should give them all green cards if they go to college. Green cards, make them, legal citizens if they go to college. And I mean, this clip from Trump is unbelievable, and it was so ill-advised at this point. We'll get to that and more, but first,
excuse me.
Anybody have a criticism? Anyone want to support Biden without mentioning Trump? Can you do that? I don't think you can. There was a guest on, I don't even know what show it was, and he just kept. They were debating the election, and he just kept talking about Trump. And the host, I can't remember what it was, said, "Could you say something about Joe Biden without mentioning Trump?" And the first word out of his mouth was Trump. She just starts laughing at him. They can't do it. Try it. Try it with one of your neighbors, your friends. Say, could you make the case for Joe Biden without mentioning Trump? They can't do it. There's no defense. There's no support for Joe Biden. Zero. There's no such thing as a Joe Biden voter. There's Trump voters and there's Trump haters. And it's pretty well split. And there's 75, 80 million of each. There is no support for Joe Biden for obvious reasons. They can't support him. They just hate this guy. So Trump goes on the All In podcast, and it's a popular podcast with a bunch of billionaires, tech billionaires from Silicon Valley, including David Sachs, who I like, but they want cheap labor. That's their goal. And they propose giving green cards to college graduates, not specific college graduates, not STEM students, not engineers and doctors, just anybody who goes to college. And as soon as I heard this, I thought of the last 2-3 months of watching these America-hating radicals on college campuses, burning the flag, chanting death to the Jews, assaulting Jewish kids, just, camping out and breaking windows. And I mean, we've been watching that for 2 months, every day. And Donald Trump thinks now's a good time. I think now is a good time to give them all green cards. This is, I cannot believe he said this at this time. He didn't say, I'll look at that. I'll think about that. It's a good idea. Maybe we'll consider it. He said, yeah, I'm in. And he takes it a step further. You don't have to go to a 4-year school. You don't have to get a worthwhile degree. Anybody, you go to junior college, you go to community college, you get a degree in gender studies, you get a degree in, climate justice, environmental justice. You're good. Here's your green card. You could stay. This is incredible. Listen.
To recruit the best and brightest from the world. Every time we get somebody super intelligent from India or Europe, any country, that's 3 of us are immigrants, sir. Yeah, and 3 of the 4 here are immigrants, the ones without the ties. And we could get these great people into our country, and that's a loss for our adversaries and our competitors, and it's a gain for us. But I've never heard you talk about this. Can you please promise us you will give us more ability to import the best and brightest around the world to America.
I do promise, but I happen to agree. That's why I promise. Otherwise, I wouldn't promise. Let me just tell you that it's so sad when we lose people from Harvard, MIT, from the greatest schools and lesser schools that are phenomenal schools also. And what I wanted to do, and I would have done this, but then we had to solve the COVID problem because that came in and, sort of dominated for a little while, as you perhaps know. But what I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country. And you know more stories than I do, but I know of stories where people graduated from a top college or from a college and they desperately wanted to stay here. They had a plan for a company, a concept, and they can't. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people, and it could have been done here. And a bigger example is you need a pool of people to work for your companies. You have great companies, and they have to be smart people. Not everybody can be less than smart. You need brilliant people. And we force the brilliant people, the people that graduate from college, the people that are number one in their class from the best colleges.
Leading candidate for president on the day that Jocelyn Nungary was murdered, on the week that they captured the guy who murdered Rachel Marin, says, we must make it easier for foreigners to stay in this country. He doesn't qualify it and say, if you get a graduate degree in engineering and you have a job, that you could stay. You can go to you go to a community college, get a worthless degree, and you're in. You're in. This is so tone deaf. Again, even if you believed it, why would you say this on this day, on this week, a week before the big debate? You're saying, I want to make it easier for college students. He singles out MIT and Harvard, two of the hotbeds for anti-Semitism. And you know who led those protests? Those vile anti-Semitic, anti-American protests where they burned the flag, where they waved Hezbollah flags and Hamas flags? MIT and Harvard students from overseas, from somewhere else. Those are the guys wearing the kafifas. And Trump wants to give him a green card. What the hell is he talking about here? And why? Why here? Why wouldn't he just say, I'll take it under consideration? He goes all in, takes it a step further. Yeah, you can go to Bunker Hill Community College and you could stay forever. On the day we're talking about the absolute abdication of Joe Biden, of the duties of the president by Joe Biden, letting in these people. So you mean one of those savages from Venezuela who murdered the little girl? If only he had an associate's degree, he'd be in. He'd be good. He'd contribute to society. And he mentions China. So a Chinese student who comes here and gets a degree, an associate's degree, can stay forever. That's all. You're good. You're in. Yeah, I know walking across the southern border is not difficult, but you know what's even easier? Getting an associate's degree. You want to stay? That's the way to do it. You don't have to contribute to society. You could be a foreign agent. You could be a criminal. Just get yourself an associate's degree, and Donald Trump will give you a green card. Oh man, I hope he rethinks this and at least qualifies it. Yes, you have to have a worthwhile degree. You have to have a job.
You should have to have a worthwhile degree, a job or whatever, but also maintain like a certain GPA even.
Yeah,
for automatic green card.
Right. For the scum we saw terrorizing campuses. Those are people who graduated. We showed you some of them. Remember the girl who tore up her degree from Penn or Princeton or wherever it was?
Yeah.
Tore up her degree, waved the Palestinian flag. That person, if she's a foreigner, she gets to stay. She gets a green card because she graduated. She tore up her diploma, but she gets to stay. And it should be like the old days.
Columbia student.
That was Columbia. Yeah. Oh, one of the finer schools, according to Donald Trump. What is he doing? And I'll tell you who else gets to stay. All those that's pieces of garbage who occupied the building at Columbia. This is from yesterday. This is from the Free Beacon. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office, led by anti-Trump prosecutor Alvin Bragg, dismissed trespassing charges against 30 Columbia University protesters who were arrested for occupying a campus building. You may recall they took over a administration building, the dean's office. They smashed the windows, they kicked in the doors, they spray painted the whole place. They occupied the building. They held janitors hostage briefly. They fought with janitors. I don't know. I could think of a dozen charges that they should be facing. They're off the hook. Alvin Bragg, the man, the big bloated DA, who stood at the podium after he convicted Trump and said, no one is above the law. That they should have a laugh track for that. No one is above the law, except 31 violent rioters who occupied a building, broke windows, kicked in doors, committed assault, damaged the place, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages. They walk free. If they graduate and they're from somewhere else, Donald Trump says they can stay. They wore face masks, keffiyehs. They streamed into the building and held it and occupied it for hours. The cops had to go up on a ladder and climb through a window to bring them to justice. And Alvin Bragg said, no charges, none. Now, if this were, I don't know, the Capitol building and some grandma was walking through with a little American flag, she's still in prison. But these are radicals who hate this country. And by the way, some of them were faculty members. They weren't just students. They were faculty members. And they were chanting anti-Semitic, anti-American things. And they get off scot-free. This is so incredible. This guy says no one's above the law. All the time, no one's above the law. That's why he convicted Trump of falsifying a business record. Well, turns out if you're wearing a keffiyeh and you're from somewhere else and you hate this country, you are above the law. And Donald Trump picks that day to say you could stay as long as you get that degree in whatever art. You get a degree in protesting in Palestinian history, whatever. You get to stay. You get a green card. You're in. How long before somebody who was given a green card by Donald Trump for getting an associate's degree commits a crime, commits terrorism? It's, bad timing, Donald. Bad timing. All right. We got to get to this. We got to do our Karen Reed update too. That always takes us too much time, but we'll do that. Let me take a break and then we'll get there. She is. She graduated, tore up her degree. She's wearing a Palestinian scarf, tearing up her degree. If she's a foreign student, and lots of them were, more than half the students at Columbia are from somewhere else. They come here because they pay full freight, and the college makes a lot of money and gets a lot of big donations from overseas, from the Middle East, from China. If that person is from somewhere else, she gets to stay. She gets a green card because Trump says we need people like this. What an unforced error that was. But he made his friends on the All In podcast happy. Those tech billionaires who want the help. They want more people from China. So bring them in. Donald says, what the hell? All right, we got to get to our Karen Reed update. You're monitoring the trial, Ironhead?
Yep, the motion got denied, so the defense is now.
Oh, there will be no summary judgment. There should be, but I didn't think that was a possibility. We'll get to that, and I'm going to show you why Tom Brady is going to be really good at his next career. He's a Fox commentator, #1 guy on the #1 team. He better be. He's making $37 million a year. But I had my doubts when he first got the job. I have no doubts anymore. He's going to be great.
Excuse me.
All right. For some reason, the judge decided to let the trial of Karen Reed proceed. The defense hasn't started yet, correct? Which is just remarkable.
They just started right now.
It just started. So the defense is just beginning their case. And I still find that hard to believe that everything we've seen for the past few weeks is the prosecution's case. And it blew up on them from day one. It's been a disgrace. It's been a national embarrassment. There is no way they convict her. They should have just stopped the fight weeks ago. One prosecution witness after another has been an abject disaster. All the cops, just about all the cops, they all look the same, they all sound the same, and they all were about equally effective in making their case. Yesterday's developments, you had another cop, and they all make friggin' 200 grand, by the way. You know, this is going to be Turtle Boy's greatest accomplishment. He is going to force a reform of the state police, the entire department. It's already begun. They're going to name a panel to review the corruption in the state police. But you got these guys all making 200 grand just up there, not only lying, to frame Karen Reed, but showing you don't have to be that bright to be a state trooper in good standing. Yesterday's state trooper on the stand was Nick Guarino.
Mhm.
And this was, to me, at least, and I'm not following it like some people like Turtle Boy, but I could count like 5 or 6 times where you say, that's it. The case blew up. It's over.
Yeah, yesterday there was one big one in the
Stairs?
prosecution. No, not even that. The prosecution always says that she struck John O'Keefe with her car at about 12:45 a.m.
Right.
And yesterday he said that her phone automatically connected to John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi at his house at 12:36. So it's
Right,
all
right.
right from
And
there.
they proved through the Apple data on their phones that John O'Keefe walked upstairs and Karen Reed didn't.
Right.
So the only stairs would be the house. And which to me proves with data that he went in the house. And right there you're saying, wait a second, they just proved that he went in. Every day there's a moment where you say, I can't believe they're still going through with this. They have a medical examiner who's going to be a defense witness who will no doubt prove that the injuries are not consistent with being struck by a car in reverse at 22 miles an hour, which in and of itself is absurd. She knows she's winning this. She looks very relaxed. She spoke to the media the other day and sounded fine. She's not going to take the stand because she doesn't have to. They've proven that she's a little bit hysterical and she gets drunk, but this is a murder trial, and they somehow introduce evidence that she reached out to a lawyer. Why the hell wouldn't you? First of all,
They
that's
tried.
nuts.
Yeah, they tried
That's
to
not
do that.
self-incriminating. Secondly, she was drunk driving. We know that. So she reached out to a lawyer. Why wouldn't you? That's, just another attempt to make her look bad. And there's been a lot of that.
Yeah, they played a bunch of voicemails yesterday of her at like 1 a.m. and later calling John O'Keefe's phone and leaving voicemails of her screaming at him, being like, "Where the hell are you?" All this stuff. It's like if you murdered someone and you're trying to get away with it,
You
you're
wouldn't
gonna
do
call-
that, right?
Yeah, where
So
are
they
you?
resorted
Yeah.
Right. They resorted to just make her seem like she's mad at him and she's crazy, she's drunk, but that doesn't mean she murdered him. Just the opposite. You think she was performing? I mean, that's where we're at now. You're going to say she killed him, but she's just pretending to miss him. It's just so absurd. They're wasting everybody's time at this point. They really are. And as I mentioned yesterday, what did I say about the Hollywood guy, writer, director, actor who reached out to me? And he wants
Turtle
he
Boy's
wants
big-
to talk to Turtle Boy, but his message, it was funny. I said, Turtle Boy's busy and he's getting a lot of interest and he's riding high right now, but he's very busy. So the guy, I give him Turtle Boy. I reached out to Turtle Boy, said he wants to talk to you. He says, give him my number. So I did. And like, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours later, he says, he's not returning my calls. And I said, he will. He's just very busy. And he's talking to some other people in Hollywood. And the guy writes me, and it literally writes, if it's Wahlberg, Damon, or Affleck, I can't compete. I can't compete with those guys. Then I'm out. And I said, it probably is one of the above. So when this is over, or maybe before it's over, and before they get to all the trials of all the cops who are perjuring themselves and all the cops who are apparently setting up, framing Karen Reed, this can't be a movie. It has to be a series. This is just too much. You couldn't do this in 2 hours. And if it's Wahlberg, does that mean Wahlberg has to be Turtle Boy? I don't like that. Is it going to be like Patriots Day where he's everywhere? He's involved in every scene.
Yeah, he's in every single aspect. He's finding the footage. He's doing all that stuff.
I don't think Wahlberg can be Turtle Boy. Turtle Boy has to be someone smaller and crazier. My suggestion, you didn't like it, was Ed Norton. Ed Norton can play good crazy, and he kind of looks a little like Turtle Boy, unlike Wahlberg or Affleck. I think he could do it, but
if I was Turtle Boy, though, I wouldn't want Ed Norton because he's going to have to shave his head, and everyone's just going to think American History X.
American History X, but he was so good in that movie. He was just so good. He played an evil guy, and neo-Nazi, and then he reformed. And he played a good guy, and he pulled it off. He's a great actor. He really is. He would be good. I'm not sure he's up for doing a Netflix series. He's a pretty big star, but you can't fit this all in a 2-hour movie. It would have to be a Hulu, Netflix series, Apple series, like 8 parts to get it all in. Because I'll say again, phase 2 is going to be even wilder when these cops and the DA and they all and the McAlberts get busted. We've seen what kind of people they are. They're going to return like rats on each other.
Oh, yeah. And we know that the feds are already looking into it.
And the feds are involved. And you got to have these guys testifying and lying and stumbling and talking about their associate's degree. It's just going to be crazy, the next phase of this trial. And you think it's riveting now? Wait for that and wait till. And I think they're not done with Turtle Boy. They know he was instrumental in ruining their lives. And these are crazy people, drunken people, crazy, violent people. I hope he's careful because they know what he did was just expose them all. And not just him, there's, a bunch of other people on board now, and they're going to want revenge. And these are not smart, disciplined people. These are bad people. And maybe the town of Canton will be the star of the show. They'll show all the drunks and all the connections and all the dirty cops, and it's just going to be nuts. But
it'd be fun in the Turtle Boy case if the prosecution calls Carano to the stand.
No, I think Turtle Boy's moved on, man. He's too big a star now. His videos are priceless when he's sitting there. He charges people to ask questions, which is good. He's trying to make a living. People send him like $5 just to ask a question. Yeah. We should do that, Ironhead. $5. I'll answer your question. Donate $5. All right. Do we have time to do Brady?
Of course.
Brady. So Brady is officially retired. I don't want to hear any more nonsense about, he's coming back. He's not coming back. He's done. I mean, he came back to win somewhere else. He did. He's, indisputably the greatest ever. There's nothing more he could do. He's incredibly, fit and durable and all that, but he doesn't want to embarrass himself. So he's not coming back. Just stop. He will be in the booth in September in the #1 team for Fox. So he'll be doing the big games every week. And initially I thought, I'm not sure he's going to be good at this because he would hesitate, I think, to criticize players and maybe coaches, but I don't know why, just because he doesn't necessarily want to be that guy who's, the players all hate. I changed my mind. Part of it was the roast because he's okay going to those dangerous places. You agree to that roast and you do that stand-up routine. He did. You're okay being in the eye of the storm and being a little bit edgy and a little bit dangerous. So I think he will do that part okay. He'll be critical of coaches. He'll be critical of quarterbacks, and that's important, and refs, because he wants to be good. He wants to earn that money and that reputation. But he's also going to be great at just X's and O's. I mean, he's going to be the best at this. Peyton Manning and Eli Manning are good. I think Brady's going to be really good, better than Greg Olson or even Tony Romo, who's hit or miss, depending on, how he's feeling that day.
You don't like his anticipation noises when he's like,
I like Romo, but I talked about an appearance he made at Encore a couple of years ago, and apparently he likes he likes to imbibe, and sometimes he sounds a little a little hungover, but he's still good. He's good, and I like what he's doing in a game. Sometimes he makes me laugh, but I think Brady's going to be good. Just listen to him with Colin Cowherd talking about, and this is a really good topic when you think about the Patriots and why they were always, so good, so prepared, why Brady always made the right decisions. This is why you can't have a quarterback who's not 100% committed, immersed in the job, just totally devoted to playing quarterback, learning, preparing. This is the difference. Brady's got a good arm. Brady's, a good athlete. But this is the difference between Brady and everybody else. Listen to this.
And I think that's where Bill was actually so great. And no one saw him in those moments like we did. In Saturday night, we were so prepared and so focused. We were the opposite of tight.
Really?
We were always relaxed because we had the answers to the test. I knew that I went through the call sheet. And let's say we had 150 calls on the call sheet. There was a meeting at a squad meeting at 8:00. I would meet with the quarterback starting at 6:30 in the offense corner. We'd go through every single play on the call sheet and we'd do exactly what we did. Okay, this is a play. This is the run. What's the one thing that could mess this run up? Oh, a safety blitz off the right side. Okay, great. What do you want to do if that happens? So I'd walk to the line of scrimmage. That call was made. I'd break the huddle. I'd look to the line of scrimmage. I'd say, okay, the only problem I have on this play is if the safety's blitzing off the right side. And then I would just look for it. Oh, and he only did it, let's say 5% of the time. So most coaches would just say, I just run the play, whatever. If they get lucky and call at the same time, one for them. And that's not how I played because that one play could mean everything.
Right.
So I would say, no. If it's a 5% chance, it could happen. I would tell the line, okay, if this guy's blitz, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to check to this play called Wolf or called Beetle or called Python, whatever we wanted to call it. This is what I'm going to do. Or I'm going to check to a screen, Liz, Rip. I'm going to change the protection and go to Greta or Grape.
Do you think Mac Jones had that kind of command of the offense?
He did not.
I mean, just take any, average quarterback, from any era. Take, Jeff George or Jeff, what's his face from Vanderbilt there, the guy with the hot wife, divorced. I mean, these guys don't prepare like that. And that's the difference. If you're drafting a quarterback or signing a quarterback, you have to know whether he had this kind of dedication, if he was willing to put in this kind of effort to prepare. That's why Brady was better than everybody else. And I think he's going to do it as a analyst, as a color man. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to get totally prepared. He's going to put in the hours and he's going to be good. And sometimes he'll be like Romo. I think he'll go off the rails sometimes and just say outrageous things, which helps. That's good. That's why John Madden was a legend and why Romo's so good. He's not going to worry about saying something kind of stupid sometimes. He will. He'll say something outrageous. He'll probably swear. He used to do this when we had him on the radio. He would drop an F-bomb every week. You never knew when it was coming. The producer would be ready with the button and you knew he was going to drop one or two F-bombs just to keep you on your toes. That's what he'll do in the booth.
I always find myself thinking about this once in a while because Mac Jones stunk. And that poor guy that passed away is buried in a Mac Jones jersey.
That's true. He got murdered at the game wearing a Mac Jones jersey. But, Mac Jones, his arm was fine. His footwork, his athleticism was fine. He just didn't do that.
No.
150 plays on his arm. And he knew what was going to happen on every single one of them, which is why he was just unstoppable for so long. But he'll be soon enough. He'll be in the booth and we'll find out. But I think he'll be good. And I think Belichick, when he's on with the Manning brothers, I predict it's going to be huge. It's going to be great. Those guys are good. Those guys are great anyway. The Manning cast. They got to do it more. They can't take weeks off because Monday nights, I used to look forward to it. Some guests are better than others. Some are terrible. Belichick will be good. He'll be sitting there with his 24-year-old girlfriend having a glass of wine and he'll let his hair down. I think he's at that point where he wants to be good, and he will be. The two of them, Belichick and Brady, will both continue to be really good at football. Just
He'll do the Manning cast, and his girlfriend will go finger painting in the corner or something.
his girlfriend. That is a little weird. He's 72. He has a 24-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah.
As you said, what do you talk about?
Mm-hmm.
What do you talk about with someone who's 50 years younger than you? I mean, maybe she's really deep and interested in, history of the NFL. But
so it turns out, remember we watched that Ring video of Belichick leaving that house?
Yeah, that's her place.
Turned out to be her place. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he's having his fun, but I don't see a long-term future for a guy for a 72-year-old with a 24-year-old. It just doesn't. Maybe he's just looking to have a good time, but it is a little weird. Anyway,
Sure.
We will leave it there for today and for this week. Thanks for listening and for chatting and for watching. Thanks, Ironhead. I'm Jerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we'll do it again